high budget deficits don't harm our future. Experts warn government. Federal government plans more loans. We have some riders here. Naira will fall further. Inflation will rise. Debt servicing will worsen, says expert. Government will continue to borrow to finance projects. No money, says the minister. This is the finance minister, Zainab Ahmed.
Yes.
You find this story on page 29. The federal government has said we have to borrow. And they've tagged us borrow government. Really? But how long do we have to borrow? And is this the only way out?
Maybe it's not the only way out. But at the moment, the government's explanation is clear. And the minister Zainab Ahmed threw more light on this yesterday. If you listen to her after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council, where she announced that the budget has been agreed, the key figures for the budget, 16.9 trillion, has been agreed, and that the president at noon today, before a joint session of the National Assembly, present those figures. The National Assembly has already done the needful. They have adopted and passed the MTF, the medium-term expenditure framework, and the fiscal strategy paper, which set the tone for the key indicators in the budget. And she's saying that we have a revenue problem in this country. She's not denying it. The government is not losing enough money. She's saying that the money that the Nigerian government raises in terms of revenue, cannot cover salaries and overheads of government. It will swallow it completely. But the government needs to fund infrastructure. They need to build roads. They need to build bridges. They need to build key infrastructure. The country has suffered for years, an infrastructural deficit. Since Third Mainland Bridge, they haven't built any major road in this country. Experts will tell you, So that's what, according to her, the President Buhari government is. And to do this, they have to borrow. And she also gave indices that today, Nigeria has not borrowed more than countries in our mix. Brazil, Egypt, South Africa, even Angola, Mexico, the rest of them. So she said we are very well within range. She was saying that of the national GDP, our debt profile is still very low. What she was trying to justify government's borrowing. Yeah. And she's saying that for this 2022 budget President presented, they will fund it through borrowing largely because the oil exports and now the pegged oil price in the budget, the benchmark is $57, $57 per barrel, and the government is looking to do 1.88 million barrels per day at an exchange rate of 410 naira to the dollar. So in these projections, it means that oil revenue will be 3.15 trillion, non-oil revenue 2.13 trillion. It's about 6 trillion. The government have a few other sources. Lastly, the government's own expectations about little over 10 million. The rest, about 6 trillion, will be borrowed. The key lenders, the multilateral and bilateral lenders, the World Bank, the IMF, Japan, France, and the rest. The government will go borrowing. That's what Minister Zainab Ahmed has explained. And when we see the budget eventually today, the government will highlight those fine points of how it plans to fund its expenditure for 2022. I do not know how they managed to fund 2021, or if it was when the budget was even implemented to the fullest. I doubt that completely. But what people are worried, right? The likes of Pat Utomi has said, instead of funding a large budget like this by borrowing, why not cut down on the cost of governance? We have always said this, and we can't say it enough, that the government as it is today is over-bloated. Its salaries and overheads of government is already taking almost 6 trillion a year. That's what she said. That our own revenues will be swallowed by government expenditure and salaries alone. So if we need to do infrastructure, we'll have to borrow. That's why Pastor Thomas Alarm, Manufacturers Association, are saying that with the way things are going, with the way we are running government, we will soon go broke, because the deficit in the budget will be funded by, but you borrow money to pay this in. It doesn't look logical, and that's what experts are saying. Why not trim your budget within what you can afford? Especially because the budget is high on deficit, and because you service your debt, once you borrow, you keep paying. So you're telling me that you are going to borrow money to? It's a debt trap that we're working towards, and that's what experts are saying. But the government have his arguments. No country is free from borrowing. Every country borrows to fund its business, and it's a roller coaster that would, that's like a cycle. So we'll see indeed. But I believe the experts. They have raised the alarm. It looks illogical to borrow to fund deficit.
And the frequency of borrowing within this.
No, the government doesn't joke. They don't bother to even deny it anymore. Almost all government activities, once it's not the recurrent expenditure is, he's borrowing.
What about money stashed abroad? Can't it be repatriated back to?
The difficult thing in repatriating. Look at the Pandora Papers. Look at the people who have hidden money. Even men, when you see them in church, you double and say, pastor, money, sir. They are all hiding monies, using shell companies to hide, stolen funds. Most of them, or they refuse to pay tax locally, so they move these monies abroad and stash them. Using shell companies in tax havens like the Bahamas and the British Virgin Islands, like I see most of our politicians, So getting stolen funds hard because those tax havens, they are opaque. Most of these people are allies to the thieves. To get money out of Switzerland, you know how difficult that is. The Swiss government does not do another business other than hide money for people. That's number one business in Switzerland. Switzerland, they don't produce oil. They don't do anything other than have Swiss banks come and hide your looted money. So it's not easy. You have to look at the work the government have done to get part of the Abacha loot. Something that was very much in the public there. So it's very difficult. The people that hide their money in these foreign safe havens, they know it's a protection for them. They know how opaque that system runs, So that's why they keep their cash there. Otherwise, the stolen funds will be good money to fund most of these projects we're seeing. When the government recovered the Abacha loot, the last one that came, $325 million, they protected them, for the second Niger Bridge, the Abuja, the Lagos Ibadan, and the Abuja Kano. The good amount of money to fund these three major projects, and then you're satisfied that you have used that money to fund this kind of projects. But it's not easy to recover these funds. So if you identify them, look at the business of Tizani and Leslie Madueke. Everything we have heard of that they said stole in the media. I'm not sure what the government have recovered apart from 453 properties in Abuja. Because it's a complex process, a cumbersome process, of trying to initiate it and eventually get it back. The Ibori loot was just brought back there. The Delta government said they want it. It became controversial. People who said money was not missing now want it back. So it's a cumbersome process of getting money. But the government is trying. I cannot deny the fact that they have initiated a few procedures to get them back. When the president went to the General Assembly, Attorney General Malami told us that they have identified the £200 million looted funds they want to repatriate immediately. And that in all, we have about £2 billion. You know how much £2 billion is today? That's over 1 trillion. We will fund a significant part of this budget that we're going to borrow. But to get those monies is not one day. Can outlive an administration.
All right, still on The Punch. Everywhere I go, I'm asked to contest 2023 presidential seats, says Kalu. You find the story on page 21. I asked, who is Ojus Okalu?
Oh, Senator Ojus Okalu.
Yes. So who is everybody? Who is telling him?
Since Ojus Okalu refused to vote for the Transnational Electoral Cruise, I've been looking at him one kind. I've looked at him one kind. Because, again, maybe because of the lie he gave thereafter. That's where it comes from. There's no network. Meanwhile, people are calling from there. Smart tells us, no, that's not true. In Igbo, where it comes from, in Abia State, the NYC, that's where the NYC camp in the state is, and activities is rife with telephony. Yet he tells us. So I began to look at him one way, and I don't forget his legal and case. He was convicted the other day. He filed a technicality. Just about 2 weeks ago, he went to court and prevented the matter from restarting. Now, just Okalu said, I'm begging him to run for president. It's an enigma.
Did you enjoy this video? Hit the subscribe button for more. Leave a comment and like. Thank you.